Good afternoon, everyone. This is the February 13th, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 signing the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder, persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 987-575-420#, or join the meeting via the link on Microsoft Teams posted in the agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue, hearing, or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. I'd like to take this time to ask you to turn off all gadgets that make any sort of noise, if you would. And the first thing we do in our procedural steps is we have a roll call of all board members. Then we ask if there's anybody participating on the call. Just give us the 4 digits of your telephone number and your name for identification. The hearing notice will be read by our staff, Sarah Clark on my right. You or your representative will present your application or appeal. Anyone in favor of the appeal will have 5 minutes to speak. And then I'll read any of the letters that we received. After that, anyone against or with a question will also have 5-minute time limit to state your grievances. The applicant will then be able to rebut anything that they've heard that they disagree with. Board members will direct questions to anyone present. We will hear further information, close the public hearing, and at that point, the board, and only the board, will deliberate unless somebody decides to ask somebody else to participate. But other than that, the board will deliberate. We will usually vote on the appeal, not always. Votes are taken by roll call, and at the end of the meeting, we will close via verbal confirmation and note the time of adjournment. So at this point in time, we're going to do a roll call vote of all members stating their names and that they approve of this form of meeting, starting with David Veach.
Yes, David H. Veach, and I approve this form of meeting.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve.
Lee Hovey, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
And Randy Potash, I approve as well. And first thing we have is minutes, I believe. And Paul?
Yes, I'll move to approve the minutes that were distributed as published, but I'll make 2 changes, or suggested changes. One is on the first page, the roll call of the board to achieve a quorum is actually a roll call to authorize the form of meeting. So I think that change should be made from a quorum to authorize the form of meeting. The second area that I would suggest changes is on each of the approvals on January 9th, the draft omitted the first condition on the approvals of the time period between June 30th and Labor Day on each of them. There should be no exterior construction will be allowed as A under number 3. Other than that, I think the minutes are appropriate.
Dave Veach seconds.
As amended?
As amended, and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Lee?
I vote yes.
Steve?
Steve vote.
Excuse me, you can't just speak out at a meeting. You can't do that, just so please don't do it again. Thank you.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And as do I. I'm going to ask Channel 8 if there's anything that we can do to accommodate the person's grievance about things being louder. We don't, hang on one second. I'm not sure if we should take a recess for that, or we will see what the verdict is here. 1 second.
We've increased the volume, but if you could stay closer to your mics, that would help a lot.
Okay. All right. So, moving along. So today, the voting members are David Veach, David Nixon, Paul Semple, Virginia Fenwick, and myself. And with that, I think the first application, whenever Sarah's ready.
Application number 24-152, Mark Zippo, care of Andrew L. Singer Esquire, P.O. Box 67, Dennisport, Mass. 02639, owner of property located at 139 Indian Hill Road North, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 8G, Block 3, Lot E3. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a nonconforming accessory structure on a nonconforming lot via the conversion of the existing detached garage to habitable space. And under the second accept clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of a special permit. The building coverage will remain 4.4%, or 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming, and then it contains 44,685 square feet, or 60,000 square feet is required in the R60 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protective bylaw.
Welcome, Attorney Singer. Can you hear us?
Welcome.
No.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
We're
Hope
welcoming
can hear
you.
me. Thank you. I had submitted a letter a few days ago requesting respectfully if we could continue this to March 13th. Mr. Zippo suddenly could not make the meeting today, and he spoke with some of his neighbors last week, and there were some questions, and he wanted the opportunity to speak with them again before we present the petition formally. And we're requesting March 13th. I know you have busy dockets coming up. Unfortunately, for both Mr. Zippo and myself, of your next 3 or 4 meetings, that's the one that we're both available, and we hope that that would work for you, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I regret to tell you that that date will not work, but I can
Okay.
offer you an April date, but I'm not sure if that would work for you. Or we can offer you a May date, if that's better.
Okay. We could, maybe what I could ask for, is April 10th available, Madam Chair?
Not really.
Or, so you're looking at April 24th?
Yes, that would
Okay.
be a lot better. If we had-
I am available on April 24th. So
Okay,
if that is the
that would be
date that
great.
works.
That would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so Paul?
I'll move to grant the requested continuance to April 24, 2025.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote no.
Paul?
Paul votes yes.
Ginny?
Ginny votes yes.
And I'm going to vote yes as well. I understand that it was no fault of your own, the reason for a continuance. Some things got complicated, and you just realized it Monday, so you didn't have time to take care of the issue. And so I'm going to vote yes. But ordinarily, we do frown on continuances here, but you won.
Helen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, our next application, the next 2 are also requests for continuances. Next one is 24-148 Chatham Productions, 10 Annabelle Lane, whenever Sarah's ready.
Application number 24-148, Chatham Productions LLC, care of Greg Clark, 1234 Chestnut Street, Suite 211, Newton, Mass. 02464. Owner of property located at 10 Annabelle Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 37, Lot 2. On remand from the Land Court, the applicant seeks approval of special permit number 22-085, denied by the board on October 27, 2022, which sought approval to construct a single-family dwelling in a GB2 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit. The proposed lot coverage is 5,515 square feet, 44.5%, where 70% is the maximum allowed. The lot is conforming with 12,394 square feet, where 7,000 square feet is required in the GB2 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, 26, and 8D, 2B of the protective bylaw.
Okay, is there anybody here that represents Chatham Productions?
Hi, yes, this is Victoria Clark. I am remote. We would like to request a continuance due to the fact there was a mix-up with our engineer and the property boundaries as well as the house lines on the property were not staked in the proper 2 weeks before the zoning board meeting, which is, I understand, a part of the rules and regulations. So we wanted to make sure we gave the board the proper 2 weeks so that all members who wanted to go out to the property to look at the property lines as well as the house footprint would have the opportunity to. And that is why we were requesting a
Well
continuance.
said, so now I don't have to read you the rule. I was going to do that, but I don't have to do that, I appreciate that. We have to offer you April 10th as the next available date. I know you just heard me say that wasn't available, but we were saving it for you, because that is the date council can be here, and this is a remand, so I hope April 10th is acceptable. We don't have anything available before that, so I'll save your,
Could we do April 24th instead, just because I know we have a conflict, that be able to be there on April 24th? Or, sorry.
we're not sure if council can make it that day, so that's why we've tried to prepare for you today, the best we could with scheduling. You sure there's no way for April 10th? 'Cause then he runs into, town meetings, because municipal lawyers do that in May, so I'm not sure. Give me 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Madam Chair, could I suggest that someone in the staff use a quick call to town council to see if that date is available for him, and we'll wait for an answer while we handle the other applications today?
Okay, so can we get back to you? Just,
Yes.
you can just stay on the meeting. We'll be here for another hour. We would have been here for another 4 hours if you were here, but we're only gonna be here for another hour, probably. So, stand by if you would.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So the next application is yours as well, but since we're gonna have you stand by, we're gonna skip over that, and we'll go back to it, okay? All right. So the
Okay,
next
sounds good.
application that we're gonna take up now is an actual hearing, 24-151, 38 Sandy Shoes LLC, and this is 38 Sandy Shoes Lane.
Application number 24-151, 38 Sandy Shoes LLC, care of SB Design, 693 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 38 Sandy Shoes Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16F, Block 1, Lot S2. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming dwelling in a non-conforming lot via the partial demolition of the existing dwelling and construction of additions and an accessory structure. The existing dwelling is non-conforming and that it is located 18.2 feet from the westerly abutter, and the exterior mechanical system appliance will remain non-conforming, located 24.3 feet from the southerly abutter, where a 25-foot setback is required. The proposed addition and accessory structure will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of special permit. The existing building coverage is 3,110 square feet, 8.5%, and the proposed building coverage is 3,635 square feet, 9.9%, or 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming and that it contains 36,566 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Just state your name if you would.
Paul Muldoon, SV Design. You're representing the ownership group of 38 Sandy Shoes. Sarah and I talked earlier today about some accuracy issues on the advertisement, so I'd like to go through some of the requirements in the project scope here.
Sure, thank you.
It is an R40 residential zoning district. The lot area is non-conforming in that it has 36,599 square feet, where 40,000 is required. The existing structure is non-conforming in that it sits 24.3 off the westerly property line, where 25 is required. All current mechanical equipment is conforming. All proposed mechanical equipment will be conforming. As we get into the proposed project, you can see here on that westerly abutter that 24.3 feet. That's our non-conforming issue, along with the lot area. The proposed structure, we're planning minor alterations and additions to the structure. We've been before the Chatham Historic Commission to review these additions. They've approved our project and have worked with us to get to this final solution. Now, the proposal includes removing this one-story addition on the westerly side and rebuilding it back with additions that expand it front and back and add some second floor space, but also push it back so now we're conforming to a 25.2 square feet, making the entire structure conforming to the setbacks. Other additions include a proposed accessory structure, some minor alterations and infill of covered porches on the back side, some dormer work along the top, and if we go to Z6, the elevations sheet. Oh, sorry, you have control. So here we have the existing elevations on top and the proposed elevations on bottom, and you can see this one-story bump going westerly. This is built on a brick pad. We don't believe there's any substantial foundation underneath it. So we're turning it, it is conditioned space currently. It does have baseboard heat. We are removing this bump to include a second floor over it, and again, expanding it frontward and backward. You can see the dimension here, 19'4". We're at 18'8", so that is pushing in to accommodate that setback. Other changes include the single window dormers on this roof line going to double window dormers. The view from the second floor is quite amazing, and we have very small opportunities in the existing for that view over Shore Road and onto the bar and water view out beyond. The rest of the changes, we're replacing windows, we're updating siding, we're locating windows in exact locations and updating the screen porch here. You can see this new chimney structure. That is a faux chimney structure. It's a nod to the original blueprints that we found of the property from 1930, where this was included as part of the original scope of work, and we felt a nice nod to the original design to bring that back. If we go to the next sheet, please, Sarah. So on this northerly elevation, there's not much change. Again, we're updating siding, we're updating trim, we're reworking the original details as best we can, trying to preserve as much as we can, replacing in kind where we can't. You can see some of the windows have changed location slightly. We're altering some of the windows in this center section and creating a habitable space in this garage and lean-to structure on the side. Next elevation, please. From the Sandy Shoe side, and Sandy Shoes is an interesting lane where it's tucked between Shore Road and the golf course. You might never know that it's there. So this is the approach from that backside as you're coming around the corner. And you're seeing, again, here, this existing covered porch and this inside L, where we're infilling that with habitable space, some exterior doors, and increasing the habitable space from the inside. The main block of the house, you can see we've added a couple of windows, but we've also replaced in kind some of these interesting windows with the Palladian half circle, the gang of threes here, and then again the addition, removal of that one-story section to a two-story or 1.5-story addition to the west. Then the southerly elevation, again, removing that one-story sunroom and building up this, what will be a family room on the first floor and a bathroom and closet on the second floor. Some of the other changes, again, infilling that covered porch and altering the garage structure. And again, this is very much a nod to the original design from the blueprints that we found. These arch-shaped doors, this circular window, and arch-shaped window with the shutters here, very much in tune with what was happening from a design in 1930. The new accessory structure will have storage on the lower level and an office space and bathroom on the upper level. It's a reasonably small structure, 380-foot footprint. And then likewise, we have a pool that's situated behind this structure and in between the main structure. So here the proposed site plan shows the elongated pool, the accessory structure, our new footprint of the addition, and then patios and landscape and hardscape are also shown on this plan. The materials used for this renovation, generally we're trying to match the existing as best we can. So the existing siding is an oversized cedar shingle. We will have painted trim and details, again, working as hard as we can to match or recreate the details that are on the house. We find that those details are very important, both historically and for the structure itself. There's a small handful of homes that have similar details on Shore Road, but they're not seen very often in Chatham. So this is a gem that we're looking to bring back up to a particular level of finish. The roof line does have a red cedar roof underneath the existing asphalt, so we're going to revitalize that detail as well and bring back the red cedar roof. As Sarah had mentioned, our existing building coverage is at 8.5%, 3,110. We're going up to 9.9% at 3,635. Again, all mechanical equipment will be conforming to the setback. And again, the Chatham Historic Commission has approved our project here. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or go right into the criteria.
Sure, please do that.
Great. Adequacy of the size of the site in terms of proposed use. The existing non-conforming lot has less than required lot area. However, the zoning bylaw allows up to 10% of building coverage. We will be building up to 9.9%, maintaining a conforming coverage. There's also adequate green space on both the west and east side of the property on par with the neighboring structures. Suitability of the site for proposed use. There is no change to the existing use, single-family residential use. Impact of traffic flow and safety. The project does include the introduction of a new curb cut on Shore Road. This will allow the opportunity to approach the house from the front or the Shore Road side. An appropriately wide driving path and vegetation that is cut back from the public way will provide a safe access point in this location. We feel it will have very little impact on traffic flow and safety. Impact on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. The proposed architectural updates are modest, with the golf course as the direct west abutter. There would be no views or vistas disturbed from that direction. Likewise, the revisions to the landscape help the property breathe a bit. So it was completely surrounded by privet at some point very recently, and we've cut those privet down and really let the project be seen, let the house be seen from Shore Road. The home is now engaging the public way as it did in 1930. Adequacy of the method of sewage disposal, source of water and drainage. There is an existing cesspool that's housing the 8-bedroom system, so we're updating that to a modern system that again will hold 8 bedrooms, 7 in the main house, 1 accounted for in the accessory structure. We've talked to the health department about this and they've agreed. We will be adding a water line to accommodate a fire suppression system at the request of our owner, so that will be part of the utility update. Adequacy of the utilities and other public services. The existing electrical service is 150 amp. We will be upgrading that system to accommodate electrical mechanical systems, as well as a couple of car chargers. Noise and litter, we don't anticipate any additional noise or litter to be created by the proposed work. Compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land uses. There's no change in the current use as a single-family residence. The abutting parcels are single-family residences, minus, of course, the golf course. Visual impact on the neighborhood and town visual character of any formula business establishment. The intent of the project is to augment and preserve the historical structure and the characteristics of this pretty special home. There's a handful of homes, like I said, the Colonial Revival home. There's a few built, 62 Shore Road, 123 Shore Road, and 520 Shore Road. They have similar entablatures. They have similar coining details on the corner of the house. These aren't very typical of Chatham homes, and this is something that is special and dear to us that we're trying to bring this home back. So the visual character and impact of the neighborhood is a special one, that we're bringing this historic structure back to prominence. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please make it known. Seeing nobody here, nobody raising their hand online. Oh, maybe
Wait.
there is,
Wait.
yes?
We're online.
If you could just
Can you hear?
state your name, sir, that would be great. And I-
Thomas Goodwin.
And you wish to
Thomas
speak
and-
in favor? You wish to speak in favor?
We have questions. We have not
Okay,
been.
you need to wait for that part then. Just give me 1 second. We will get to the questions and speaking against in a moment, okay?
All right.
Stand by. Next, I will read the correspondences, and there are two. One is from Judith Giorgio, our health agent, received on 2/11/2025. She received the plan to review and renovate the property. The plans call for a 7-bedroom dwelling, including a library as a bedroom and a 1-bedroom accessory structure garage. A site visit to the property confirmed that the existing structure had 8 bedrooms. Septic system plans and application were submitted to the Health Division for review. Please note that the septic system proposed is not an IA system, nor is one required in this circumstance. Thus, I have no concerns at this time. We also have a letter from Christina Bassett from the Chatham Historical Commission. They met and decided on January 22, 2025, that although this property is historically significant, the proposed changes do not materially diminish the home's significance, so they did not impose a demolition delay. Now, at this time, I will say if there's anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against or has a specific question, please raise your hand. Sir, please go ahead. State your name one more time, please.
Thomas Goodwin. We live next door to the north, and we have a few questions. We see on the west side a square building that doesn't exist now, and want to know more about that building. And we also see what appears to be a septic system along the northeast corner of the property being reviewed. I would like to know more about that. Is that where the existing system is, or is this new?
Okay, so we're going to have those two questions put to our applicant.
So septic system first, generally, yes. There is a septic or a cesspool system on the northern side of the property, just above, and I can point to it, just above or hovering over the leaching field for the proposed system. So that system is meant to be replaced. It needs to be replaced. The house was used very sparingly in recent years, and it's not in good condition, that septic system. So this new system, the leaching field, again, will be completely buried. The tank will be further away from the property line on that northern abutter. But yes, this septic system will be placed here on the northern side of the property. The proposed structure here is a 1.5-story structure, storage on the lowest level, and it's going to be used as an office or writing office. On the second floor, it will have a bathroom, but it is meant for storage on the lower level and an office space on the upper level.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Goodwin?
What is the height of that building?
19'4" to the highest point of the ridge.
So here's one of our concerns. We have incoming, let's say, from the golf course, and the way that our house was built, it was not square to the property. So we actually, face the golf balls, and we certainly get them. And so anything that on this project that would improve that would be welcome. For instance, at the current time, we have a very high privet hedge that goes down the complete line, the northern line of this property. That does block golf balls. It is therefore desirable. And we haven't been told anything about the state of that. If that gets taken away, that's not good news for us. Our property is going to be shelled with golf balls.
So is your question whether or not that is going to be taken away, that area?
Yes.
Okay, can we have an answer?
We intend to keep the privet and in fact build into a buffer for a slightly better level of privacy. We understand the golf balls. We find them every time we're there. The accessory structure won't protect his property at all. In fact, we might get pegged with a few errant golf balls, but the privet on the northern edge is meant to stay.
You heard that, sir? The privet is meant to stay?
Yeah, we appreciate that. So I asked at the historical commission review about the northern side of this building, and we understand it's non-conforming. I'm guessing, because I'm not a pro at this, but if it's pre-existing and non-conforming, it can remain. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
subject to a special permit that they are now seeking.
Okay. And
And
I
if I may,
also understand.
Mr. Goodwin,
Yep.
the northern side of this structure is conforming. We're 28.3 feet away from the property, your property line, where 25 is required. And in fact, we've improved the situation on the southern side by moving the structure away from the property line. So now the full structure is a zoning conforming dimension to the setbacks.
Even better.
Yeah, even better is right. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're just trying to understand what's coming our way. That's about the size of this. But if you might listen for just a minute.
You actually have 2 minutes left, just so you know. There's a 5-minute limit that I announced at the beginning, but if you want to take the 2 minutes, you are welcome to do so.
Okay, well, the previous owner, her parents built our house, and then this house became available, so they purchased this house. That's a little bit of the history, so we know it pretty well, and we hope to have nice relationships with the new owners, and we just want to know what's coming our way. So appreciate all of the comments that have been said, and we look forward to seeing all the good stuff that you're going to do.
Yep, well, thank you for attending the meeting, and we will say goodbye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so, another hand raised. Which initial?
I believe it's Ann Cammy.
Ann Cammy, please,
Hi.
yes.
Hi. We're actually the neighbors on the other side. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Okay. I just have two quick questions, and one may have already been answered. The first is about how far the pool will be from our property. And then the second is about the use. Obviously, I mean, we love being in the middle of Chatham Bars Inn, but we kind of like being across the street. So I just wanted to confirm once again that this property is only zoned for residential use, if I'm understanding correctly.
We'll let you answer that.
Okay. The first question, the pool separation will be zoning conforming. We are 26.8 feet away from the property line to the edge of the water, and we intend this to be a single-family residence.
Okay. Well, in that case, I just want to say it looks beautiful. As most people know, we just did a big renovation ourselves and faced similar, hurdles we had to jump over. So wish you the best of luck. It looks like a beautiful design.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that's that. Is there anybody else here on Microsoft Teams that has a question or wishes to speak against this application? Seeing no one else, we will now have questions from the board. Ginny?
Hi, Paul.
How are you?
I have a question about the curb that's being cut into the front.
Yes.
So is that the only parking?
There will remain a driveway area on the backside.
Okay, can you show me that?
So the Sandy Shoes existing driveway, you can see the lines that travel in here. We're going to make it a little bit more angular to the rear property line. So we're coming in, we have essentially 2-car parking opportunity in the back. And then if we scroll down just a little bit, that curb cut coming in will give us maybe 2, maybe 3 spots of parking in the front.
Okay, sufficient for 7 bedrooms, large home?
I think so.
Okay. No garage? That's going away, that's becoming a playroom?
That's
Yeah.
becoming a playroom.
Okay, related to the woman the neighbor who just called in, the single-family residence. So, I can't help but notice that the markings say Chatham Bars Inn. Would there be any chance in the future, where that single-family residence would change? Like, how that couldn't happen? I'm getting to that question that the neighbor asked.
As it being part of Chatham Bars Inn, no.
Right.
It's a single-family residence.
Okay. All right, that's all I had, thanks.
Steve, questions?
Don't really have any questions. It looks like a nice project, but I did just have an observation. On page Z3,
How about if you save that for deliberations, unless it's a question? We're trying to,
question.
it's a question, okay. You said it wasn't, so now it is.
There's a call out to bath number 2, and it looks like it's pointing to a closet, and bath number 3. But then there's also a call out on the next page, I think, on Z4, where those 2 bathrooms are on the 2nd floor. So if you could just correct that.
Sure.
I think it would be appreciated.
A numbering issue, but yes, there is a bathroom on the 1st floor, and it's an existing bathroom, and we're renovating it. So that bathroom is meant to stay and remain. And yes, that's called out as bathroom 2, and there's bathroom 1 over here. The 2nd floor on the next sheet should be bathroom 3 and 4.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, questions?
Just a question about the accessory structure. Does that not have a garage in it?
It does,
Okay.
and we are making minor modifications to that, and we'll approach Sarah with the minor modifications to include no garage in that space, but our application has a garage.
Okay, thank you.
And Paul?
Yeah, my question actually related to the use as well, but I take it from your responses that this is not going to be part of the CBI rental properties that are available.
The ownership group is from CBI, yes, but we intend this to be a single-family residence.
Okay. Unfortunately, some of those golf balls that you're finding there are probably mine. I have no other questions.
David Nixon, questions?
Yeah, several questions. I understand what you say, it's going to be a single-family residence. But looking at the ownership, it will be rented, I presume, through the same entity that rents CBI. That only makes sense. I mean, that is also true, I believe, of the octagonal house, that is a separate ownership, is it not?
I don't know.
You know, okay, I think it is, because, anyway. So, when I was there and observing that building, I thought to myself, boy, you could cut it up pretty easily and make it 2 units, because it's held for rental and all that kind of stuff, but there's something about maximizing rent value if you had a single-family home, and from what you say, that's what's going to happen there. I mean, you could be talking huge dollars per week, which has nothing to do with you, and I understand that. Did you draw up any other plans for this that indicated a possible 2 or 3 unit building?
No.
Single only?
We did talk about other projects here where the house needs a lot of work. There's knob and tube, there's lead paint throughout. The windows some are original, and we talked about demoing the house and adjusting the angle to the view and sliding it forward onto closer to Shore Road. Still a single-family residence. Through that process, we decided to come back to, and the ownership group agreed, to a renovation project and maintaining what was there to the best of our abilities, bringing it up to a modern standard of utility, and just maintain this beautiful architectural gem.
The idea of putting a parking area in the front of the house on Shore Road. That doesn't strike me as being a way to add to the beauty of it or what it is. To me, it's an infringement. I'm sure you thought about putting more parking spaces out back. There certainly is an area to do that.
Well, there's a public side and a private side to this house. And the Shore Road is absolutely the public side. The sidewalk across the street, the area of walking path, the house is now seen. Putting the parking in front and letting the family with their children play in the back to a particular degree of privacy was part of the process and part of the thinking. So having a car or two in the back, yes, but having the majority of the cars in the front is the main idea.
And you think that's attractive?
With the proposed gardens and landscape that we're doing, I agree with the process.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
David Veach, questions?
Well, just in relation to what Dave said, didn't the inn also purchase the house on the corner of Claflin Landing? And so that's another private residence that they own. You know, so they have acquired private and a residence in the neighborhood. But no, well, the only thing in this, I noted when I was out there, and because this question pops into my mind sometimes, and I don't know, Paul, that you would be able to answer this, but I'm curious that this idea of bleaching white cedar shingles on a building, which it looks like they've done that, and I've never quite understood the reasoning for that. But it sounds to me, I guess my question would be, it sounds like you're going to be replacing the siding as well.
And before the sale, somebody went and power washed the shingles. And it creates a modeling and it creates less consistency in the age of the shingle. I'm not sure where to answer that, but yes, we are replacing the shingles.
Yeah, okay, great. That's all I had, thanks.
And Mr. Nixon has one more question for you, or maybe more.
Yeah, and this is through Sarah. Sarah, would you refresh my memory about why the octagonal house had to be in different ownership and why the other house that Dave was talking about had to be in different ownership? It had something to do with renting it through CBI, and CBI couldn't own it?
So, going back to 2009 or 10, I believe it was, with the octagonal house, possibly even before that, the board had conditioned the special permit to do something, they were doing something to the house. I don't remember exactly what. But the board had conditioned that it could not be rented as part of CBI's property, which the owner did not do. Typically under zoning, you can't restrict ownership of a property. So this, I mean, we've been told it's going to be used as a single-family dwelling in a single-family residential zoning district.
I don't know. Jade, you weren't here at that time, but do you know anything about the history of why those had to be in different entities than CBI?
I do not.
Okay.
But if they were gonna use it as anything other than a single-family dwelling, they would have to do a change of use permit and go through some sort of process, but, I mean, I don't know how they would do it.
Yeah, okay, thank you, thank you. I was just trying to clean up in my own mind.
So this can be rented out as a single family, like if my family didn't live in Chatham already, and we wanted to come here, we could say, we're looking for a single family home, and whoever it is that is the agent can say, okay, here you go, pay $5,000 a day and you can use it.
I suppose it could. You know, we've worked very specifically with the owner here to customize this house to her very specific wants and needs. It's a single-family home.
Yeah. And as far as you know, nobody's ready to come buy it. They're not gonna sell it.
No.
No, okay, fair enough.
This has been a labor of love to get it to a point where the owner is very comfortable with what we're doing.
And Virginia Fenwick, another question.
I just, Paul, have a follow-up question to the parking curb that's going to be cut. Would you say 2 cars or 3 cars?
It has enough space for about 3 cars in that front.
So did that have to go to the, I saw that you had to go to historic twice, but I didn't see anything for the planning board. Do they need to approve that? Is that something we're approving?
I believe it's a minor work permit with DPW. I can confirm that.
Because, Shore Road is a busy road and, walking, jogging, cars. So I'm just surprised that you can just cut in a driveway for such a substantial residence, with that many potential.
And it's not the first curb cut on Shore Road, and we feel comfortable with this because the sidewalk is on the opposite side of the street. So there's only a grass area on this side of Shore Road.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay, questions? Did you have any more, Paul, or you want to?
No, I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. Okay, deliberations. Steve?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to see that you're respecting the historic nature of this house and doing your best to even restore parts of it that don't exist today. I think it's a nice project. You are reining in that one setback that's over the line now. So I think everything that's being done is for the good of that house, and I think it's a nice project.
Thank you.
Virginia Fenwick, deliberations.
I agree with the effort that's been made to not tear it down and to maintain it, restore it. I did watch the historic hearings, and, they didn't like the first design. This is the second design, and I agree with their comments. I think the first one was too busy. So I really like what's being proposed. I have a little concern about the cut into the, not just for the traffic flow and safety criteria, but also aesthetically. I agree with Mr. Nixon. I don't love that. However, it's not my home, and the use, if the back area, which is primarily driveway today and parking with the two-car garage, is not what the new, owners want to do, and they want to keep that private for playing and whatnot. That's their right.
It is. Mr. Nixon, deliberations? You ready to deliberate?
I have nothing to say, thank you.
No? Okay. Mr. Veach, deliberations.
Yeah, I think I think the design looks very, very nice there. It looks very good. I mean, they're working with, by the time they're done, they will have replaced probably much, if not all, of the building. But they are essentially working with the building that's there, and which we don't see that very often, particularly. So that's a nice plus. Actually, I'd never noticed that house till they cut the hedge down in front. That's actually quite an improvement. Just cutting that hedge down so you can see what's going on there. Anyway, I don't see, this is certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I think it's an improvement. It does meet our other criteria, and I'm not as concerned about, or I didn't have a concern, I don't have a concern as much about the parking in front. To someone who was driving down Shore Road and kind of was not aware of the different ownership of the various buildings and things, there's a lot of parking and buildings, and it all kind of works together, and so a lot of it is Chatham Bars Inn, but you're not really aware of that necessarily. So I don't think having 3 or 4 or 5 cars parked on this Shore Road side of that house is going to be detrimental or more detrimental than what exists now in the situation. So I'm not concerned about that. So I will be supporting it. Thanks.
Paul?
Well, I agree. It's certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I think the only concern I would have on the curb cut would be line of sight and whether there's sufficient line of sight, which I think DPW can take care of. So from that viewpoint, I don't see a problem. And it's certainly nice to see it upgraded and done in a historic manner. So I think it certainly meets our criteria.
And Lee?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues, and I agree with you. It's a beautiful piece of property and a gem of a house, and it is nice to see it, because I never noticed it either.
Agreed.
And I do applaud the owner's, willingness to restore, to keep it, historically, appropriate. So I think it's a good project. It meets our criteria, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Okay. So I would just say that when they do that curb cut, anybody that rents that is going to just be there at their own peril. Obviously, it's going to be extremely busy, dangerous in a sense, but not enough that I could say that this whole project is substantially detrimental. But it probably is an amount detrimental because of the traffic area that is, and there's probably going to be cars in the front and the back when you think about it realistically, and people coming and going all summer from there, and we'll be able to watch that and wonder if we made the right decision. But with that, Paul?
Well, I'll move to approve the application, but I guess I would ask you what your plans are in terms of timing for construction and location of construction vehicles and so forth.
Planning to move immediately, and we can fit all construction activities on the site very comfortably.
Okay, so we're not going to have any backup of construction activity into the parking area for the golf course then?
No,
All right.
no.
All right. Well, I'll move on the basis of our standard conditions for approval with all construction activity and vehicles be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner, that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Yes, sir.
The construction activity will be maintained on site, and we do have a considerable area on both the north, or the west and the east side. Is there any way we could avoid the no exterior construction during those timeframes?
We have to take a vote on that.
Okay.
So let's just see, is there anybody that wants to forego that and let him have what he needs, what he wants? Is there anybody that wants to do that? I don't see any takers, so we're gonna have to stick with them. Oh, yeah,
I'm just trying to think it through myself.
okay.
I don't know, it's a good-sized project.
Even if you do, Mr. Veach, want to be that.
Well, it's not gonna be
you're
enough.
It's not gonna be
Yeah.
enough.
So,
Even if
okay.
I were to go along with you, which I
Yeah,
might, it's still
Yeah,
not
but,
enough.
yeah, I mean, I try to look for instances where we can allow it.
I do too. I do too.
And since he's asked, I might be inclined to give him the benefit of my doubt.
Well, we had two neighbors on each side of the building online. I don't know whether they're still online, but I suppose they could chime in if they said, no, it's no problem for us, if they want to go ahead and build it.
Are you asking them, Paul, to chime in and then your vote might be in accord with Mr. Veach?
Well, Mr. Goodwin is
All right,
available.
Mr. Goodwin, what say you about restrictions on construction?
Well, as I understand it, you're agreeing with 8 to 5, but not during the summer months, is that correct?
What we're suggesting is that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction would be allowed, no work would be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity would be only between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Well, we do rent our house in the summer, and that starts mid-June. So people aren't going to be thrilled to have a lot of
So
construction going on.
you're not on board with that, correct? You're not on board with that. You'd rather keep our
Yes.
usual restrictions, right?
Yes.
Okay,
We'd happily keep the 8 to 5 and no work on the weekends if that was amenable to the
that didn't
neighboring
sound
properties.
amenable to that gentleman.
Well,
And-
I've moved on the basis of those conditions.
Yes, you did.
And we go from there.
All right, David, you want a second?
Yes, I will second, and I'll vote yes.
And Mr. Nixon?
I vote yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
As do I, it's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yep, good luck with your project. At this point, we're going to go back to Victoria Clark. Ms. Clark, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we have an answer for you in the affirmative for April 24th, 2025. And right now, what we've read onto the record is your application 24-148. So are you asking us to take 24-148 and move that until April 24th, 2025?
Yes.
Okay, Paul?
Yes.
I'll move to grant the requested continuance to April 24, 2025.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Don't we have to read that?
That was read. Oh,
The second one was.
we didn't get to that yet.
We haven't done
No,
the
but-
next one yet. We will have to read it and vote on that one
Okay,
as well.
very good.
Yes.
Okay,
So you
then
voted
yes.
Yes.
All
Paul?
votes yes.
Ginny? As
Ginny
do
votes
I.
yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous for 24-148. Now, if you could please stand by, we need to read your next application into the record and do the same thing.
Application number 24-149, Chatham Productions LLC, care of Greg Clark, 1234 Chestnut Street, Suite 211, Newton, Mass. 02464. Owner of property located at 5 Annabelle Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14E, Block 37, Lot 5. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family dwelling in a GB2 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit. The proposed lot coverage is 4,013 square feet, 31.2%, where 70% is the maximum allowed. The lot is conforming with 12,877 square feet, where 7,000 square feet is required in a GB2 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, 26, and 8D, 2B of the protective bylaw.
Okay. Ms. Clark, would you like us to have a motion here and move that application to April 24th as well, 2025?
Yes, I
Thank
would
you.
appreciate that.
Okay. Paul? Microphone.
Excuse me. I'll move to grant the requested continuance on 24-149 to April 24, 2025.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I, it's unanimous. Congratulations, and we will see you in April.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Goodbye. Okay. Yep. Next application is going to be 24-142 Monomoy Community Services, I believe, and that is William G. Litchfield Esquire for 166 Depot Road. And then there's going to also be, did I only read one? There's two applications. Oh, there's two applications. Sarah is going to read both.
Application number 24-142, Monomoy Community Services, Inc., care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 166 Depot Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16C, Block 83, Lot 67. The applicant seeks dimensional variance for the demolition of the existing deck and construction of a new deck 30 feet from the road where a 50-foot setback is required. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the protective bylaw. Under application number 24-143, the applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a nonconforming structure on a nonconforming lot via the construction of additions. The existing structure is nonconforming, and that it is located 30.3 feet from the road and 8.4 feet from the southerly abutter where a 20-foot setback is required. The proposed deck will be nonconforming in that it will be located 30 feet from the road where a 50-foot setback is required. The proposed additions will conform to the required 20-foot abutter setback. The existing lot coverage is 2,764 square feet, 21.8%, and the proposed lot coverage is 3,685 square feet, 29.1%, where 50% is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 12,652 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in an SB zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protective bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield, Attorney Litchfield, welcome. And who
Thank
do
you
have with
very much. Good afternoon, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Monomoy Community Services. With me today are Teresa Malone at the rear of the hall, and also our architect, Allison Alessi of A3 Architects. I suspect all of you are familiar with Monomoy Community Services, a nonprofit educational enterprise which has been serving the youth of our community since I was one, more than a half century, and has owned 166 Depot Road since 1983, although I believe it operated there for about 10 years before. MCS has as its primary purpose education. That's an important point, as I will relate later. We are here to request relief in two areas, both of which are important to the educational purposes and community service which MCS provides. They will enable it to continue to serve the community, and also because the Chatham Children's Fund will be relocating to this facility. We want to construct some conforming additions. All but one aspect of the appeal is completely conforming, to better accommodate the existing programs as well as the Chatham Children's Fund, and also make the building more ADA compliant as well as energy efficient. We've already received approval from the Planning Board under site plan review, and were approved by the HBDC with words of commendation for the project. So I'd like, if I could, with your indulgence, to ask Allison to talk about what's proposed for the building, and then I'll go into the zoning aspects and the criteria.
Perfect, thank you. Welcome.
Hi. Can we bring the drawings up? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sure, as Bill said, you all know the building, so am I doing this the wrong way? Yes. We have a historic building here, and we're making some very minor modifications to the historic portion. We're proposing a covered entry, and we're proposing a second dormer. So there is a dormer, and we're proposing an additional one. And we're proposing a small addition on the main level. It's 1 story, and where the existing house or project is 2 stories. And if we could look at the next slide. Here we are on the west elevation, so you see this is the proposed 1 story with the walkout basement level below, and you can see that the historic structure does that as well. There have been a number of additions to the historic structure, so this is existing, and we're proposing to renovate the historic piece, but it is an existing appendage to the historic building. We can look at the next slide. This is the back elevation, so facing the ball field, and you can see this is the historic structure. It's a Greek revival. As I said, it's been touched. It has a very monumental stair coming down to the field. And again, we're using this walkout level for children's activities, and we are proposing solar panels. You see those on our sunny south elevation. And the next slide. And this is the east elevation, and as it works now, many kids who enter the building come down this side and enter to the lower level, so we're proposing a covered entry at this. Again, as Bill mentioned, we're just hoping to make the building more accessible and more friendly. This area is being renovated. This is a small cubby or mudroom for the kids coming in and out. And next slide. So in yellow, we're showing what's being proposed. So we're working our way up. This is the lower level. Currently a children's center. We're just proposing, as I mentioned, this kind of more robust entry, a mudroom with cubicles for storage for coats and kids. And we have new mechanicals and storage in the yellow new footprint area. We can look at the next slide. And this is the main level where we're showing a proposed covered entry, again, to make it more accessible. And then our new proposed area is all handicap accessible, and we're proposing just more space, more business space, more office space, an accessible bathroom and kitchen, and expanded or opened up and renovated children's area and storage areas. Next. And this is the proposed, or the second floor. This exists. We're proposing a new dormer, as I mentioned, and this is a storage and office space on the upper level. So it's quite a minor, I would say, or smaller addition to what's there, but we just think that we're looking at the building in its totality and trying to improve it for the nonprofit so it works a little bit better for them. And I'd be happy to take questions as they come.
Thank you. Attorney Litchfield, continue.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Allison. While we're in the small business zone, the neighborhood is, as you know, largely municipal. And given its long-standing relationship with and support by the town, MCS fits in this location. In light of the somewhat, we think, both minor and appropriate nature of the request before the Harrison case, all of what we're seeking could have been granted by special permit. And in fact, I think for reasons on which I'll touch later, I think they still can. But we've applied for both a variance and a special permit because, as you know, since Harrison, structures other than single-family residences are deemed to require variances for changes, and that may apply to one, but only one of the changes here proposed, and that is the reconstruction of the deck on the Depot Road north side, which is currently 50 feet from the street, where 30 feet from the street, rather, where 50 feet is required. As we know, variances are appropriately granted sparingly, but they can be granted when the criteria are met, and I think that you can find that they are, as I'll show in a bit. In fact, though, if we can reconstruct the existing elevated deck as a ground deck or patio and still be compliant with ADA regulations, we'll do so. If we can, if it becomes a patio rather than a deck under the historic interpretation of our bylaw, which is that patios aren't structures and don't have to meet setbacks, we may not need that relief for this aspect of the project. Unfortunately, we don't yet know because we're dealing with a tight timetable for grants from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and because we'd already revised our plans several times, and rather significantly, to make all of the other additions and renovations conforming and completely compliant, we decided to move forward. But there's another important element involved that I think with which some of you may be familiar, and that's the language of Section 3 of Chapter 48, the so-called Dover Amendment, which provides that, quote, no zoning ordinance or bylaw shall regulate or restrict the use of land or structures for educational purposes on land owned by nonprofit educational corporation, provided, however, that such land or structures may be subject to reasonable regulation. We are perfectly happy. We wanted to go through site plan review, HBDC, and your review as well. There's lots of case law on the Dover Amendment, from the Mormon Temple in Belmont to the Tufts University and Boston College cases, and there's an interrelationship between Section 3, which is the Dover Amendment, not named for any former select board members from that town, and also Section 6, which is the non-conforming language. Even though under Harrison we might otherwise need a variance, there are cases such as Campbell and Primrose School which require a balancing of the interests. That balancing is noted or is shown in the statute by the permissive may as to regulation, it's not the mandatory shall as to the application of dimensional restrictions. The SJC held in the Tufts case the statute is designed to encourage accommodation between protected educational purposes and matters of critical municipal concern. It's been held that if a stringent application of dimensional requirements serves no municipal purpose, there need not be strict adherence to them, and in that case, a special permit rather than a variance is all that's required. Other cases have said that given the interplay of Sections 3 and 6 of 48, it's invariably an ad hoc fact-specific determination, which is what you do in every case anyway, because no two properties are the same. Here, though, with the Little League field and Veterans fields to the south and west, the support of a butter to the east, and municipal uses to the north as well as throughout the neighborhood, and given the stated purposes of the bylaw, there's really no need for rigid adherence to that dimensional regulation. And in the Boston College case, the court said that in such a circumstance, we can then proceed as would any other applicant just by seeking a Section 6 determination. In which case all you would need to find is the proposed alteration is not substantially more detrimental. Having said that, I'd suggest that you, if you're willing to, that you grant the relief sought in both directions, both variance and a special permit, so that there is no uncertainty, sort of similar to what was done by you in regard to the Chatham Historical Society at Woodhouse Museum. So with that, I'll go through the criteria for the special permit and then the variance, even though that's sort of in the reverse order. Or, Madam Chair, would you prefer that I go through the variance first? Doesn't
I
matter
don't-
to me.
I'm going to let Sarah answer you, because I don't think we need to do the variance, but
So it'll be up to the board based on your applying for Dover and the certain protections that are allotted to that type of use, as well as the board having been given town council's opinion that this use falls under Dover protection. The board may hear it if the applicant wants to seek the variance approval, they can. However, he can also request to withdraw that, knowing that it's only needs a special permit.
would you like to withdraw?
I will do whatever the board would like me to do so that you can go home soon.
Yeah, that's what we would like you to do.
That's fine. Go straight into the special permit and afterward withdraw the variance.
Yes.
As to adequacy of site, including building coverage and setbacks, the site was developed long before zoning. The existing structure is non-conforming as to the rear lot line, which is the Little League field. Coverage is less than half of that allowed. The building itself meets the 50-foot street setback. The site has been adequate for the nonprofit educational use for decades. If you approve the special permit, you can do so based on a finding that the site is adequate for the conforming additions and the deck, front deck, however we end up doing it. That will otherwise meet all setback requirements and increases lot coverage to just 29%, where 50% is allowed in the SB district. As to compatibility of size, I didn't do my usual comparison because it's frankly so obvious, but the neighborhood includes the community center, which has building coverage of 17,000 square feet. The fire department is 16,000 square feet. The elementary school, 55,000. We're at 1,400. If you approve the special permit, we'll increase to 2,289 square feet of building coverage, still much smaller than most buildings in the neighborhood, which again is a community service-oriented neighborhood. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, there's none. Even if we have to have an elevated deck out front, it will not extend any further. And if we can do it at grade, it won't be an issue at all. As to the suitability of the site is suitable for the use that it's had for the last half century, as well as for the additions, which have no environmental impact. The scale, sighting, views, and vistas. The existing structure, which parenthetically was once the home of the grandparents of a former member of this board, recent former member. It's seen several additions, to which Allison alluded, but it's set back from the street. Not massive now, won't be massive if you approve the special permit. The covered porch and additions have been reviewed and approved by HBDC. Again, the scale is appropriate. I think it'll have a positive impact on the streetscape. It's the compatibility of use. It's an educational and community use. That isn't going to change, and certainly having the Chatham Children's Fund there is not going to change either. We're on town sewer. I think the chair will read a letter from Judy Giorgio in that regard. Noise and litter, we're next to the Little League field and Veterans Field and the fire engines coming and the rescue squad going back in and out of the fire station. I don't think that there's a lot of noise from Monomoy Community Services. So the overall issue is whether the proposed changes to the MCS building, which are compliant as to the bylaw with an asterisk by the deck, without increasing in nonconformity, or whether those changes are substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. The deck issue was somewhat complicated by ADA compliance matters as well as topography, but I think if we needed a variance, we could probably get it because of that topography. The neighborhood is a center of educational and community uses, of which MCS has been an important part over these many years, and upgrading the building with ADA access and appropriate architectural detail consistent with the requirements of the bylaw is, I think, a worthy cause and worthy for the grant of a special permit. Certainly not detrimental, let alone substantially more so. And in light of the criteria and the plans, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will read the correspondences. There is a note from Judith Giorgio on 2/11/2025. She tells us she's reviewed the plan to add additions to the existing Monomoy Community Services building at the above noted property. The property is connected to Chatham Municipal Sewer. The proposed plan does not add sewage flow to the property. I have no concerns. Next, we have a note from February 3rd, 2025, from the Planning Board, who approved the changes as amended with their standard conditions. And next, we have a note from, let's see, the HBDC. And they tell us on January 22, 2025, that they met and rendered the following decision about this property. They voted 5-0-0 unanimously, approving the construction of additions and new front covered deck to the commercial structure located at 166 Depot Road, with the standing conditions that any changes or alterations to the approved certificate of appropriateness require additional approval by the HBDC. And that may conclude the correspondences. It does. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams at all, or that wishes to speak against this application? Please let us know. You don't see anybody that wishes to speak against or that has a question? No. Questions from the board? Mr. Veach.
No, the only question I had, which I now understand, why do we need a variance here? I forgot about Harrison. And I don't think we need one anyway, so I have no other questions, thanks.
Mr. Nixon? No questions?
Nope.
Mr. Semple?
No questions.
And Lee?
No questions.
Steve?
Steve has no question.
And Ginny?
Well, my question isn't actually zoning related. And it feels a little, silly in the context of the great work that you're doing, but why are you removing the chimney on this historic building? And and I know this went to HBDC and they didn't comment on it, at least not that I heard. The metal roof, why the metal roof? I know it's kind of a municipal area, maybe that's why, but it just seems a little incongruent with the historic.
Well, I believe that the chimney is being used only to vent the HVAC right now. I'm not sure that it is the historic chimney, so they were okay with us removing it. We're proposing to remove it so that the solar works better. And the metal roof, we felt like the one-story material change that kind of marked what was new and what was being added was a more respectful way of touching this Greek Revival building and sort of like marking this is new and kind of keeping. We really wanted to keep what's nice about the Greek Revival are the heavy pediments, the trim, and we wanted to make sure those details stayed intact. But to do that, we really need small roofs, and when you do that, they become metal. They shed water better as a metal roof. So you do see them on historic houses, but I think they're not very visible to the eye. You see them a little bit in elevation, but that's why that's the material choice.
Well, as I said, it's not really a zoning criteria, but
Okay.
I was.
I'll take architectural questions.
I was curious about that, thank you.
Okay, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. Deliberations. David Nixon.
If I even thought about voting against this, I think my mother would rise from the grave and give me a good whack right in the head.
Is that?
I can't follow that one well. No, there's certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. It's an improvement all the way around for the neighborhood. The additions look very well and certainly to anything that, anyway, and I can help contribute to the work of Monomoy Community Services. I'm always happy to do so.
Very good. Excuse me, Paul?
Yes, I agree. It's certainly not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, that's for sure.
And Lee?
Yeah, I agree. It's not substantially more detrimental, and I would actually argue that it's beneficial to, as I think Attorney Litchfield said, the center of the community for Chatham. I feel like that whole area is like, it is one of the hearts of Chatham, with the ball field and the community center and the fire station and the railroad museum and the tennis courts and the elementary school. I mean, that is a really, really important part of Chatham. And to support our families and children by a renovated Monomoy Community Service building is just, it's priceless. You have to do it. You have to do it for the families of Chatham, and you have to do it for the future of Chatham. So,
Yeah, well done. Well said. Steve, can you beat that?
No, I can't. No, I think it's a good, if it's a benefit to MCS, then so be it, and I don't think it's gonna have an adverse effect on anything around it, so I think it's a good project.
And Ginny?
Nothing else to add, certainly not, can't follow what Lee said, so I would support it.
I'm going to dare to follow what Lee said, and I'm going to read a little portion of council's opinion, and I think it's just such a tribute to Teresa and the institution they have there. Indeed, we've repeatedly held that a program that instills a basic understanding of how to cope with everyday problems and to maintain oneself in society is incontestably an educational process within the meaning of the Dover Amendment. And that's what they do there. They have little children and they show them how to act. So how can you argue with that?
Maybe some adult,
Lawyers might deserve lessons
maybe some
like that,
adult
too.
programs would be in order.
Yeah, I wish I could have gone there. So with that, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. What's the plan in terms of?
Paul, your mic.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted. What's the plan in terms of construction?
We're still thinking, and I appreciate the reason for that question, we're still dealing with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the possibility of some grants, and construction is not going to be immediate. However, given the location and given that we're 50 feet back from the street, while I don't think we'll be doing anything before Labor Day, I would be happier if we didn't have that construction limitation, a seasonal construction limitation. Again, there aren't neighbors. The tennis court balls may make sufficient amount of noise, and again, with the fire station and everything else, I would prefer that we not have the seasonal limitation.
Yeah, my only concern would be the activities on the ball field and that whole spot down there. Once you get into summertime, it seems to me it would be difficult if you had construction going on there. Does that make sense?
It does, and I don't know, would it be unlikely that would it be likely that this would start before Labor Day? No. Then, if need be, what I would suggest, Mr. Semple, if the limitation were imposed, we would certainly accept it, but if we had to come back to you for modification in May or April of 2026, we would ask then for a revision if need be.
I'm sure there would be no problem in doing that if it were necessary. So I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the provision that all construction activity and vehicles, well, I don't know that we're going to be able to keep things on site, but if the activity is not during the summertime, we're probably okay. So how about if we said that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed, no work will be permitted on weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only. That's fine.
Mr. Nixon has a.
Yeah, I would suggest in this case, that we not have any conditions. I really don't think we need to do it. I mean, these are very responsible people running a responsible program. I just don't think we need it.
How many people would go along with what Mr. Nixon just proposed and just no restrictions? I would go along with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
So we'll just rely on them to impose their own restrictions, which are consistent with what we're saying.
yes,
All right, on that
We
basis,
appreciate that.
I'll move to approve the application.
as submitted, yes?
Yeah, Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
And I vote yes as well, that's unanimous, and now you would
Could I
like to.
request, Madam Chair, that appeal number 142, 142 be withdrawn without prejudice?
Yes. Paul?
Move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
As do I, it's unanimous,
Thank you very
congratulations
much.
and best of luck. And with that,
I will move to adjourn.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
All votes yes?
I vote yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
as do I, and what time is it? 5:25?
It is 5:25 PM.
All right. Good night, Chatham.